I'd like to bring this meeting to order at 6:32, and we have a large group here tonight. And I just want everyone to understand that the decorum in the council chambers is only the person presenting is the one allowed to speak, and there'll be questions and answers from council. And please respect the decorum in the council chambers in the audience, and please let's keep things quiet and cordial and move forward together. Thank you so much. I called the meeting to order at 6:33, and Councillor Longo, can you please read the land acknowledgement?
I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor, I can't because I don't have it.
He's going to put it up.
Now I have no excuse, Mr. Mayor.
Mike's got it.
No. You want to read it, Mike?
There you go. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The city of Thorold is situated on treaty land. This land is steeped in the rich history of the First Nations, such as the Haudenosaunee, the Haudenosaunee, and the Anishinaabe, including the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nations. There are many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people from across Turtle Island that live and work in Niagara today. The city of Thorold stands with all Indigenous people, past and present, in promoting the wide stewardship of the lands on which we live.
Thank you, Councillor Longo. Are there any declarations of interest? Seeing none, we'll move on to the adoption of the agenda. And go ahead, Councillor Hanley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, I'm wanting to know if we could, through a motion, I know by council, have a additional speaker tonight. Some correspondence was sent to the city, but due to back and forth, the individual wasn't added to the delegation. We did receive a letter from her, but she wishes to speak and have a PowerPoint, and I'm asking council to make that decision.
Okay, and I'll turn it over to our clerk. Nicholas, go ahead.
Yeah, just to clarify, so I believe the individual is Miss Braun. She's currently added as a written delegate to the ECBAC motion with respect to the PCP program. So the request here is to allow Ms. Braun to verbally delegate to staff report 29-2024.
Okay, and that's been the ask by Councillor Hanley. Can I get a seconder for that? I've got Councillor DeRose. All those in favor? Opposed? All those in favor? Opposed? That's a tie, and I'll break the tie, and I'll allow her to speak. Okay? Please? Please? Okay. We're ready? So now we'll vote on the agenda as amended. Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councillor D'Angelo and Councillor DeRose. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Adoption of the minutes. Can I get a mover and a seconder to adopt CL 9 2024 and CL 10 2024? Can I get a mover and a seconder? Councillor Sentence, Councillor D'Angelo. All those, are there any errors or omissions? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay, Mayor's report. On May 30th, I participated in the virtual Town and Gown Association of Ontario annual general meeting. Congratulations to Kristen Smith, Manager of Off-Campus and Community Experience, Student Life and Success at Brock University, for her election to the Town and Gown Association of Ontario Board of Directors. On May 30th, I attended the Ontario Volunteer Service Awards held at Club Italia in Niagara Falls. Congratulations to the winners from the city of Thorold, and all reside in Beaver Dams. James Simons for his volunteer work with Toolbox Niagara, as well as Mike and Sharon Schofield for their volunteer work with Community Care St. Catharines Thorold. Once again, congratulations and thank you for your dedication to volunteering and making our community a better place to live, work, and raise a family. On Sunday, June 2nd, the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 17 hosted their annual Decoration Day Parade and Ceremony. Thank you to Thorold Legion Branch 17, Canadian Corps Unit 44, Thorold, and all those who attended or participated in the Decoration Day Parade and ceremony. Thank you, Councillor O'Hare, for bringing remarks on behalf of Mayor and Council, as well as Councillor Didavitas, Regional Councillor Whalen, and MP Jeff Birch, who are also in attendance. I would also like to thank the Legion and Corps for their work in our community, ensuring these important days of remembrance are not forgotten or overlooked. On June 2nd, Councillor O'Hare brought greetings on behalf of Mayor and Council at the ribbon cutting for a new downtown business, Abigail's Beauty Bar, located at 21 Front Street South. Councillor Didavitas, also one of our BIA committee reps, was also in attendance. Thank you, Abigail Borg, on the grand opening of your new business and choosing downtown Thorold. June is Pride Month around the world, and on June 3rd, the City of Thorold, alongside Pride Niagara, raised the Pride flag at City Hall. Thank you, Councillor O'Hare, for bringing greetings on behalf of Mayor and Council, and he was joined by Councillors Didavitas, Sentence, Pride Niagara Chair Enzo Didavitas, and city staff. We are committed to fostering a community where everyone feels welcomed and valued. Thank you to all our residents, city councilors, city staff, and Thorold Fire and Emergency Services who came out to support the 3rd annual Mountain View Lemonade Day on June 8th. This is an important fundraiser for FACS Niagara, which is Family and Children's Services, and our community never disappoints in supporting this initiative. All proceeds raised are used to help send kids to summer camp, and their motto says it all: kids helping kids. Thank you, Councillor O'Hare, for bringing greetings on behalf of City Council on June 8th to the 128th Thorold Flying Dragon Squadron Royal Canadian Air Cadets 82nd Annual Ceremonial Review. This event was held at the Frank Doherty Arena. Each year, cadet units across the country conduct reviews to showcase the accomplishments of our youth and celebrate their achievements. Commanding Officer Captain Teresa Parker tenure has come to an end and the change of command has taken place, and we welcome new commanding officer Captain Ruxanda Nicolay. Thank you and best wishes go out to Captain Parker. You will be missed. On June 10th, I attended the Thorold Runway Recognition Awards Gala held at John Michael's Banquet and Event Center. Joining me were Councillor Stecker, who sits on the committee, Councillor Sentence, and Regional Councillor Whalen. Congratulations to all the inductees and award winners. This event is always a highlight on our calendar year, and I look forward to next year. On June 13th, I met with incoming executive members of the Brock University Graduate Students Association. Among the items discussed were housing, transit, food insecurity, community engagement, and volunteer opportunities. On June 14th, I was joined by Councillor Sentence and Regional Councillor Whalen at the grand opening and ribbon cutting of Daily Home Care, located at 62 St. David's Road West, right beside the Avondale store. We are excited to have additional health care services for our growing senior community. Thanks to Zoe Persia and Anna Marie Perez for choosing the City of Thorold for this much-needed business. On June 15th, I was joined by Councillors O'Hare, Decker, Regional Councillor Whalen, MP Vance Badaway, and Madison Harris, representing MPP Jeff Birch, at the Thorold Senior Citizen Center 40th Anniversary Celebration. The event included honoring Thorold Senior of the Year, Jean D'Amelio Swire, and Thorold Senior Citizens Association Senior of the Year, Muriel Raymond. Congratulations to both very deserving recipients. Also, June is Seniors Month, and this year's theme is Working for Seniors. It is time to recognize the hard work seniors have done all their lives to make, in this case, the City of Thorold the best place to live, work, and raise a family. Thank you, City staff, Councillors O'Hare and Didavitas, BIA Chair Serge Carpino, and all those who supported our first community market and BIA car show this past Wednesday. The turnout was excellent, and the Thorold Band provided the evening's entertainment and were great as always. Join us tomorrow, Wednesday, when the Beatles tribute band, the Caverners, will provide the entertainment, all free. They hit the stage at 6 p.m. It should be an outstanding evening. And in closing, on Canada Day weekend, we will have 3 days of music and family fun, all free. On Saturday, June 29th, the Niagara Jazz Festival will be hosting the day as part of their summer music festival. They'll set up 2 stages, and they'll also include family activities. On Sunday, June 30th and Monday, July 1st, Rock and Blues on the Battlefield. 4 bands on Sunday, 3 bands on Monday, plus fireworks, family-friendly activities, local food and drink, magic shows, face painting, and much more. Please visit our website at thorold.ca/events or our Facebook page for more information and updates. And that's the end of my mayor's report. And now we'll move on to delegations. So those who are verbally delegating to matters, please be aware you will have a maximum of 10 minutes to speak. You are to confine your comments to new information that has not already been provided to council and speak specifically to the memorandum or staff report to which you are delegating. Memorandum CLC 23-2024 respecting ECC BAC motion regarding PCPP membership. CLC 27-2024 written delegation from Mark Freeman, Vice Chair of Environment, Climate Change, and Biodiversity Advisory Committee, submitted on behalf of the committee. Members of council, item 10.1.1 is an item of written correspondence and respecting Environment, Climate Change, and Biodiversity Advisory Committee motion regarding PCPP membership, submitted by their chair, by their vice chair, Mark Freeman, on behalf of the committee. And that was a written submission, correct?
That's correct. I don't believe Mr. Freeman is here to respond to questions, so it will be written submission.
And council received that in their package, correct?
That was included, yes.
Okay. Next, we have CLC 28-2024, a written delegation from Maggie Braun. Members of council delegation item 10.1.2 is an item of written correspondence respecting the Environment, Climate Change, and Biodiversity Advisory Committee motion regarding PCPP's membership, submitted by Maggie Braun. And so Maggie's going to speak on the other one or on this one? That's what I thought.
That's correct.
Okay, so thank you for your written submission on this. And, okay, so what are we going to do? We're going to do the other one and then go back?
So in accordance with the procedural bylaw, we've now had the 2 written delegations with respect to the CLC 23-24 memo. So that will be dealt with immediately after the delegation. So we're now on to CLC 23-2024 ECBAC motion regarding PCPP membership.
Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder for that motion? I got Councillor O'Hare and Councillor DeRose. So do you want to, how are we going forward with this now?
There can be discussion.
Okay, this is the recommendation from the committee to council, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Does anyone want to make comment on that? Okay, I see none. I had a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Opposed? It's just a report for information, no? Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to put it on the...
Yeah. The other one is where we're going to deal with the recommendation from staff, okay? This is just was a report from the committee, okay? Be received for information.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, the motion is there up on the screen for the council.
Be received for information. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay. So now report DS 29-2024, Partners for Climate Protection Program update. Delegation item 10.2.1 is CLC 33-2024, which is a signed petition from residents regarding report DS 29-2024 regarding the Partners for Climate Protection update. That's a written submission. Everybody received that? Council? Okay. Okay, so that was the written submission. Council's received that, and I'm going to move on to 1022, which is I'll call on Ron Devereaux, resident, for his presentation respecting Report DS 29, 2024. A friendly reminder, as with all presenters, please confine your comments to new information that has not been provided to council through your delegation or through other communications, including emails you have previously sent to council. Additionally, keep your presentation confined to the report you are delegating on. And I'll ask Mr. Devereaux to give us his name and address, and then the floor is yours.
Ron Devereaux, 43 South Street North, Port Robinson, resident there for 38 years.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Just a note, Mr. Mayor, I had a problem with my printer on my computer this afternoon. I'm going to have to hold these, my notes up pretty high here. I can't just put them on the desk. And as far as new information on the subject of climate change and this motion, Mr. Mayor, it's so multifaceted that I could speak for 10 hours and still not have covered it all. So I'm going to try to do it in 10 minutes. I fully support city staff's recommendation to withdraw from the Partners in Climate Protection Program. As you know, the PCP program is based in the United Nations organization known as ICLEI, the International Committee on Local Environmental Initiatives. At the council meeting on May 28, 24, the most revealing and alarming comment in the PCP program presentation came from Kiana Simmons, project officer with the Green Municipal Fund at the Federation of Canadian Municipalities, when she said, quote, "I recommend looking to the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change for comprehensive information on global climate science," end quote. Stark reality number one. That right there showed she was simply parroting the United Nations company line, so to speak, and positively revealed her apparent lack of knowledge and understanding of real mainstream climate science. The UN's climate change and net zero agendas are based on the claims of the UN's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, known as the IPCC, that fossil fuel carbon dioxide emissions cause and drive climate change. Stark reality number two. For many decades, in real, legitimate mainstream science, thousands of world-famous climate scientists have used the real scientific method to do critical analysis on that United Nations claim and have objectively produced scientific facts and truth that prove that fossil fuel carbon dioxide emissions do not cause the Earth's temperature to rise and then drive climate change. In fact, it's exactly the opposite. The Earth's temperature rises first, and after that, the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere increases. So how does that happen? Slide number 1, please. The most basic and largest source of heat energy that fuels climate change in our solar system is the sun, which is 1.3 million times larger than the Earth. It provides 99.99% of the energy that drives the weather on the Earth. Stark reality number 3. Scientists also observe climate change on the other planets in our solar system. But the last time I checked, there's no people on those planets. So simple common sense says that there's no one there burning fossil fuels that caused that climate change. Real mainstream science has identified that the facts and the truth are that there are actually at least 22 factors that are all naturally occurring processes that drive climate change on the Earth, such as variations in the sun's heat, its magnetism, and its sunspots, and variations in the shape of the Earth's orbit, its axis tilt, and its axis wobble. Other factors include ocean currents, water vapor, atmospheric circulation, etc. Stark reality number 4. All of those naturally occurring processes are totally out of man's ability to control them. Therefore, it's not rocket science to conclude that climate change is normal and natural and can't be controlled. These scientific realities cancel out all efforts related to anything that man thinks he can do to control the Earth's naturally occurring climate change. Stark reality number 5. No branch of real, legitimate, mainstream science labels carbon dioxide as pollution. It's a beneficial atmospheric gas. Actually, it's atmospheric plant fertilizer, vital to the existence of all plants in all food chains, and therefore essential to all life on Earth. More carbon dioxide boosts worldwide vegetation growth, actually making the Earth naturally greener, and increases the yields of food crops. Slide number 2, please. Stark reality number 11. No branch of real mainstream science has ever declared that there's a climate emergency or climate crisis, or that the planet is burning, or that carbon dioxide emissions produced by humans are an existential threat to humanity. The Independent Global Climate Intelligence Foundation, known as CLINTEL, has recently made the World Climate Declaration that, quote, there is no climate emergency, end quote, which so far in just a few months has been signed by 1,931 world scientists from 15 countries. All of these real mainstream science facts and truth are widely available, but not reported by the mainstream news media. You just have to know where to look to find them. And to prove that point, in the last 3 months, I have sent the mayor, councilors, and senior city staff a series of 49 emails as a sampling of the real mainstream climate science information that's readily available. Even if reducing carbon dioxide emissions could affect climate change, as a matter of interest, I did some math on the CO2 and population numbers. In a nutshell, if all of the carbon dioxide emissions produced by all of Thorold's population of 27,000 people, including the Thorold Municipal Council, were permanently stopped tomorrow, it would amount to a reduction of only 1 part per 1 quadrillion parts of carbon dioxide in the Earth's atmosphere. 1 part per 1 quadrillion parts. Stark reality number 7. Such a small amount is not even realistically comprehensible. Slide number 3, please. The bottom line from the financial point of view, and therefore the expenditure of the taxpayers' dollars, is that any effort, time, and money that the municipal government of Thorold spends on reducing the carbon dioxide that they produce is for no environmental benefits that will stop climate change. Real science proves that all efforts to reduce carbon dioxide emissions by green regulations and green programs are not a prudent use of time and money related to affecting climate change. And in fact, most of them are not even actually green, as they have all been proven to contribute to polluting in some way and having other detrimental effects as well. Slide number 4, please. Stark reality number 8. The experiences of governments around the world have proven that the costs of such green actions turn out to be far higher than expected, and real mainstream science has proven that they won't stop climate change. Just to be clear, I am not an anti-environmentalist.
Mr. Dever, you have 1 minute left, so just so you're aware.
Okay. I am not an anti-environmentalist, and I do believe in environmental stewardship. Obviously, there are sources of chemical and physical, etc. types of pollution that require controls and human efforts to keep air, water, and the land clean, but they have no effect of any kind on controlling climate change. Thank you to city staff for making a wise decision. Do not waste our tax dollars. on something that won't make any climate change difference anyway. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Devereaux. Are there any questions for Mr. Devereaux before he leaves the podium? Seeing none, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, up next, I'll call on Angela Braun, resident, for her presentation respecting report DS 29, 2024. And Angela, please state your name and address. I know who you are, but state your name and address for those.
Angela Marie Braun, 230 Beaver Street, Thorold South, Ontario, L2V1C1.
Thank you. Go ahead.
You're welcome. So dear Mayor, City Councilors, and City staff, I'm here to address my concerns as well with the proposed climate change program presented on May 28th by the group named the Partners for Climate Protection Climate Protection Program, and also to support staff's recommendation not to go ahead with this program, which I think is a very wise decision, looking back at all the factors involved. I stand before you this evening as a longtime Thorold resident, which I know many of you are as well, a taxpayer and someone who loves our community and believes it's the best place to live in Ontario. My family has been in Thorold for 4 generations now, that is if you count the children, my children, and my father and his father before him served as city solicitors. And my father was not only a respected lawyer, but he also served the poor for many years at the St. Vincent de Paul Food Bank. I served on City Council myself from 2000 to 2004, and I'm an Ontario certified teacher with a specialty in French as a second language. My husband Mike and I have been very proud to raise 10 children in this city, and we now have 6 beautiful grandchildren. And Mike has been very proud to be a coach, and he contributed many hours coaching minor hockey, and to this day, he has young people who are now adults come up to him and call him Coach Mike and thank him for not just teaching them the love of the game and skills, but great values. So bringing all this to the table, why do I recount this to you tonight? It's to show you how Thorold has a beautiful local spirit of neighbors helping neighbors. Unlike many large, totally urbanized municipalities, Thoroldites in general know our neighbors and we look out for them. And I have so many times people say to me, "You're so lucky you live in Thorold. It seems like such a nice place to live. It seems like a big city with all the amenities, but with a small town feel." And I say, yeah, I'm very lucky to live in Thorold. So I can look at most of our city councilors tonight, actually, and say with respect and gratitude that our lives have all intertwined in some way. Mayor Ugolini, you served as a very dedicated coach for our son Jake in minor hockey. Councillor Hanley, you and I were classmates at A.T. Clancy Elementary School. Councillor DePiro, you helped out at the charity hockey game that we organized for a refugee family several years ago. And Councillor Didavidish, your mom and I volunteered for the ice skating club together and volunteered at the hospice together. Councillor Longo, our parents were longtime friends, and your dad actually saved my father's life when he was in cardiac arrest. Very respected doctor, your dad was. Councillor D'Angela, our boys played minor hockey together, and we were on council together. And Councillor Sentence, we know we can always call on you with help for anything pertaining to Thorold South. So you've been a rock in that way. So the fact that I can stand here today and say that you are not only my neighbors, but you are people that I respect means a lot to me. And that's why I wanted to come to you this evening with my concerns. When we elected all of you, we elected you as municipal councillors to represent our specific needs and interests in the city of Thorold. For isn't this the entire purpose of local government? So you know what the environmental needs of our city are, and I propose that you are the experts on what the environmental needs of Thorold citizens are. We do not need a top-down organization funded by the federal government and by the International Council on Local Environmental Initiatives, also known as ICLEI, We are an educated, first world, developed city, and why do we need an international council from on high telling us how to implement local environmental initiatives? Again, each one of you is an expert on what needs to be done in the city of Thorold, and you respond directly to us, your neighbors, your friends, the people who elected you. While watching the May 28th presentation, I was very troubled by the fact that the spokesperson for the Partners for the Climate Protection program proudly stated they do not do visits to local communities. That was a red flag for me. She claimed that they save all their money for resources, but surely a federally funded and internationally funded group has travel expenses. So there's so much to be said for meeting someone face to face, especially when there's so much at stake here. We're being asked to accept a fairly radical climate change proposal from up on high, yet we're being denied the ability to meet the person face to face who is proposing this. And as well, I found it very troubling that the presenter seemed unable to answer the most straightforward questions from Councillor Hanley and Councillor DeRose that evening. How will these top-down proposals affect our lifestyle? What changes will they engender, and how drastic will these top-down changes be? We know that currently the federal government is aiming for zero emissions, which many have deemed unrealistic and which could potentially affect our economy in a very negative way. What restrictions would these zero emissions proposals place on, for instance, the way our farmers conduct their farming practices? Would so-called carbon-emitting substances be rationed or banned? Would gas-powered vehicles be limited to the point where businesses and family life could suffer? And how much is this going to cost the taxpayer? There just seemed to be so little specific information available at that May 28th meeting, and it was very troubling. I believe this proposal could affect our lifestyle in Thorold negatively. And naturally, we all aspire to be stewards of our local environment, myself included. So I propose the best way to do so is that if the citizens believe this is an important issue, a committee could be formed which could work together with council and staff in a partnership reflecting local values, reflecting and ensuring that all citizens of Thorold can continue to enjoy the quality of life that Thorold offers, which is really awesome, all the while respecting and protecting the environment, but also respecting and protecting privacy rights and property rights. You've received in advance an email proposal for some local environmental stewardship initiatives, which I submitted, which would be tailored to local needs. I know our clerk Nicholas said we can't delve into that this evening, but just to give you a little idea of what it could look like, it could be done locally. And we know that big government is not necessarily in the best interest of local municipalities. Over the years, attempts were made to amalgamate Thorold, and these attempts were always vigorously resisted. Why? Because we know that bigger is not always necessarily better. We enjoy a beautiful lifestyle here in Thorold, which is the envy of many, and we're quite capable together of handling our own environmental stewardship portfolio, if the people so desire. And I'm sure that it will be much more cost effective than something coming from the UN. Most importantly, it is the reason we elected all of you, because we trust in you and we represented you to represent our specific interests here in Thorold and not to be swayed by outside organizations who claim to have our best interests at heart. Because these self-appointed experts have never even visited the city of Thorold. Again, I propose that you are the experts on environmental stewardship in Thorold, and you are capable of undertaking this if you believe it's an important initiative. So I urge you, for all the above reasons, to be true to the people who elected you, your friends, your neighbors, your fellow citizens, and not to bow to pressure from outside interests. Let us reject the top-down, federally funded, internationally funded climate change program, and if need be, let us form our own environmental stewardship committee, which would best serve the residents of our beautiful city of Thorold. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Angela.
You're
and
welcome.
Are there any questions for Angela? Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for the presentation, Angela. And here's
You're welcome.
Just a quick question. I'm not sure if you're aware that the City of Thorold already has an Environment, Climate Change, and Biodiversity Advisory Committee
Yes,
functioning,
indeed.
and there are two councillors here
Yes.
tonight who are on this committee.
Yes, indeed, for sure.
All right, I just wanted to
So
make
it
sure you
doesn't
understood.
really have any bearing on my premise, though, that we don't need this program? That could be done locally?
You?
Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, Angela, thank you so
Thank
much for your
you.
presentation.
Thank you
Appreciate
for
it.
listening.
And up next, I'm going to call on Mina Antes. Okay. Mina Antes, resident, for her presentation respecting Report DS 29-2024. And Mina, could you state your name and address for the record, please?
My full name is Hermina Antis, and I live at 27 Thompson Avenue in Thorold. Even though my full name is Hermina, everybody calls me Mina.
Go ahead.
Thank you. Thorold was primarily built by immigrants from Europe who worked hard and had the same dream of building a better life. I would like to share my story with you because I am sure it is very similar to many families that settled here. My parents were poor farmers from a socialist Yugoslavia. They had to pay to leave Yugoslavia. They wanted to live in a free country where there was hope and opportunity for a brighter future. Penniless, they arrived in Canada full of hope and dreams. Life was tough. We all slept in one room until they had enough money to buy a house. Both my parents worked in factories and never asked for any financial assistance from Canada. They were proud to be called Canadians. The world has drastically changed since then. Our children do not see a future of hope and opportunity. Many will never be able to afford a home or a family. This happened on our watch. Only we can change the future. Today we come together to decide what future Thorold will have. Do we take control of our future, or do we hand it over to outsiders such as ICLEI to decide? I believe that the globalists are using climate as a motivational factor to get people to sign on to things and initiatives which may not be good for local ownership, enterprises, and personal freedom. In other words, they are using the climate boogeyman to force people to do what they don't want to do. I do not believe that we in Thorold are under a climate crisis. However, I do believe that we need to be good environmental stewards. I am not an anti-environmentalist, but I am an anti-globalist. The earth is changing, and it will continue to change as it always has. Nothing we do will ever stop that. I am here to address my concerns over allowing ICLEI, PCP, and FCM, all private organizations affiliated and funded by the UN, which want to ingrain themselves in our community. I believe this is a Trojan horse. Unfortunately, our government supports these initiatives. That does not mean that we have to. We do have a choice. Nothing is free. These are huge international private organizations which were born out of and funded by the UN. They have infiltrated into many countries, and in Canada have successfully ingrained themselves into 500 cities. They may be a not-for-profit organization, but they are a well-greased machine, ready and willing to direct you into their agenda. I believe the UN has been infiltrated by globalists, and these initiatives have to stop. We are asked to collect, at the taxpayers' expense, detailed information about our city, its residents and businesses, and hand it over to them so that they can put it into their computers. We are asked to hand over confidential information about our city and residents for free. Think about what you're handing over, and once given, you have no control over how it may be used. Surely there must be some concerns about confidentiality and privacy. I myself will not consent to have my private information handed over to a non-government private organization. The presentation by a PCP kept stressing it's free and will cost very little. Made it sound like no big deal. In the end, we'll get a button. If this is no big deal, why are they fighting so hard to come in here? They gave no details of what their program entails. After looking closely at their website, I would like to draw your attention to a section I found under financing, or should I say, how to get financing. In other words, Increase your debt. Debt is enslavement. They even offer free workshops on how to get financing. Why do we need all this financing? They often speak of partners. Our government has demonstrated many times how these partners work and how they ended up costing us a lot of money. Maybe these partners will offer us financing. Their goal is to reduce our emissions by 50% by 2030. Let's forget about businesses for a minute and just focus on residential changes which would have to occur. Once we have identified all the emissions a household produces, the question becomes, how do you control human behavior so they comply? Maybe monitor car mileage, maybe impose travel restrictions, maybe install thermostats that can be remotely controlled, and I believe that the new ones have this capability. Maybe reduce your temperature in your house by 50%, maybe fines, maybe taxes, maybe shut off your power. Controls are very expensive. Example, cameras and police that we will need. You're probably saying to yourself, that is ridiculous, it will never happen. How quickly we forget that people were restricted, manhandled, and fined for going to a park to exercise during COVID. The government locked people out of their bank accounts, put people in jail for not complying, and the list goes on. This is our government today. It is sad that we now feel that we cannot trust our own government. Is this the future we want? If they truly want to help us for free, why not give us books on their past experience, suggestions, and results? It is free, isn't it? Or they can make YouTube videos on how-to. These would be helpful. If this partnership moves forward, it will be a very expensive venture. Most residents already feel overtaxed, and some are having a difficult time just surviving. I would also remind you that they take no responsibility. It is on you if it goes south. They are asking us to build our own jail at our expense. Is this the future you want for your family? I say no to them, but I say yes to us, building a new future for Thorold. Let's use this as a wake-up call. I believe we do need to change the way we do things. We need to build communities. I spoke to a lot of residents, and they are eager to get involved and be part of building a better Thorold community. People want to be environmental stewards, as well as stewards for a better future for their families in Thorold. Let's bring back hope and opportunity for a bright future. Let's save the future our parents sacrificed for. We need to have control over our city and our sovereignty. Who but us is better to decide what is best for our city? Changing the way needs to start somewhere, and this is a good place to start. Let's be localists. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mina. Please. Is there any questions for Mina? Seeing none, thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you for the opportunity to give it.
1025, Maggie Braun, for her presentation respecting report DS 29-2024, and please state your name and address, please.
Maggie Braun, Ward 4, Peterborough, and I have a PowerPoint presentation. What's the best way to flip through it, Nicholas? Do I have a clicker or?
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Matt, our IT manager can go through the slides at your direction, Ms. Braun.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Ugalini, Thorold Council, and Thorold residents. I'm here in support of the staff's recommendations to withdraw from the Partners for Climate Protection Program. We can go to the next slide, and the next one pretty quickly. And one more. Thank you. On January 17th, 2023, this council was informed that the PCP program would help the staff complete a provincially mandated energy consumption and demand report. This report takes no more than 100 hours to complete and is submitted every 5 years. It is based on calculating the energy consumption for municipal buildings occupied by employees. That's it. Next slide. The Partners for Climate Protection program is so much more. Its 5 milestones involve completing a detailed analysis of energy consumption and waste from all sectors and sources. Initially, this process can take at least 300 hours to complete and is repeated annually. Reduction targets are then set, and action plans involving the purchase of green energy products is endorsed and implemented. Next slide. According to the protocol, to meet the corporate requirements for the PCP Milestone 1, the municipality is to measure energy consumption from all sources, including including non-CO2 emitting sources. Record the total electricity consumed by municipal lighting each year. Track and the total energy consumption of water and wastewater facilities annually. Record fuel sources and emissions from purchased electricity for all buildings and facilities, and collect detailed audits to identify and categorize material matters in garbage bins at the time of pickup, including the percentage of food, paper, diapers, pet waste, yard waste, textiles, rubber, leather, other organics, plastics, building materials, metals, glass, electronics, household hazardous waste, and bulky objects. Everything is broken down at the time of pickup and broken down into the percentage. Then the organic content in the waste stream is determined, and the methane potential of the landfill waste is calculated yearly. They go on to assess the decay rate at the landfill sites annually, and then they move on to for the corporate transportation sector. So that's just the buildings and waste, and then it goes on to look at your transportation sector. So in that area, they look at the energy usage for all types of fleet vehicles, which is reported annually. Emissions from the staff business travel from vehicles to flights are tracked. Emissions from staff commuting to and from work are calculated. Energy consumption and emissions from public transit fleet vehicles are reported, and energy usage and emissions from streetlights and traffic signals are documented. So that just the corporate calculations itself requires quite an extensive effort and time and resources. So we'll go to the next slide and look at the community sector data collection protocol to meet the PCP requirements. For residential, institutional, commercial, and industrial buildings, emissions from all fuel sources and electricity are recorded. Transportation data collection involves collecting fuel sales records in the community, kilometers traveled per vehicle, and emissions from all vehicle types and transit systems within the community. Industrial processes must account for non-energy related emissions, while fugitive emissions from fossil fuel production and wastewater treatment are meticulously recorded. Energy consumption from public lighting must be reported, and the solid waste sector requires detailed waste reporting similar to the corporate analysis, including livestock counts and methane potential calculations. So you can see that this process demands a significant amount of time and resources and imposes a heavy burden on the staff and the community. So that is directly out of their PCP protocol on their website. It's freely available for all of you to look at. And I'm sure that there's a lot more. It's a 64-page document. So I'd like to just take a minute before moving on to milestone 2 and address some ethical concerns and practical implications of municipalities voluntarily participating in data harvesting programs on behalf of private industry. Firstly, we can go to the next slide. Thank you. Firstly, such extensive data collection often infringes on the privacy of residents and staff. People may be unaware that their daily energy and waste habits are being meticulously recorded, which can lead to a sense of distrust in local governments. Moreover, the primary purpose of this data collection, the marketing of green energy products, suggests a profit-driven motive that may prioritize corporate gain over genuine environmental stewardship and may not align with the best interests of the community. Lastly, the data gathered is often managed by a third party, in this case, ICLEI, an international organization raising concerns about data security and potential misuse. The risk of data breaches or the exploitation of sensitive information for commercial purposes cannot be overlooked. So let's move on to milestone 2. Next slide. Setting reduction targets through the PCP program entails a significant commitment that shapes all future municipal plans and decisions. Reduction targets are often set to 0 by 2050, in alignment with the IPCC's theory that by doing so, mankind can limit the global temperature increase to below 2 degrees Celsius. The immediate reward for each milestone is a simple letter of recognition, raising concerns about the practicality and real-world benefits of such programs. So I jumped a step there, and I apologize. Reduction targets are often set to 0 by 2050 in alignment with the IPCC. They believe that by doing so, they can limit the global temperature increase to below 2 degrees Celsius. This is despite the fact that every interglacial period ever experienced and recorded on Earth has been 2 degrees warmer than it is today. So we'll move on to the next milestone 3, please. The binding nature of these reduction targets can challenge future councils, making it difficult for them to reverse established commitments. The immediate reward for each milestone is a simple letter of recognition, raising concerns about the practicality and real-world benefit of such programs. Developing a local action plan includes planning the purchase of electric vehicles, training staff, exploring renewable energy, conducting energy audits, and adopting green building standards. While this step is aimed at sustainability, these measures often come with high costs and may prioritize corporate interests over local needs. They can lead to the adoption of specific technologies and vendors promoted by the PCP program, sidelining more cost-effective alternatives and imposing financial burdens on municipalities for upgrades and new constructions to meet near zero criteria. Milestone 4. Milestone 4 is where the council endorses a local action plan based on the PCP program, and the PCP program secures the local council's endorsement for future expenditures. The result is a continuous cycle of green energy, of expenditures on green energy products.
One minute left.
Number 5, please. The data collection process is repeated in milestone 5. Upon achieving milestone 5, climate declarations of emergency are often declared to galvanize public opinion and justify expenditures. This cyclical process creates a sense of urgency, pressuring councils to adopt costly green technology without thorough scrutiny. So we can go to the next slide. Let's look at a very quick clip of what happened in Peterborough after they reached milestone 5 and declared their climate emergency. I might need 1 minute extra. Okay, so essentially what happened is the climate activist here states that funds, their action plan for climate needs to be funded, and it will have to be pulled from other priorities that the council may have. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Municipalities implementing this program appear to be spending 5 times more on climate initiatives than they are on addressing the immediate needs of the community, and that's pretty sad. I sent you a report on Edmonton, and I'm doing one for Niagara now. Next slide. Oh, actually, keep it there. Adopting this program is beyond the municipal council's responsibilities. In Canada, municipal governments should focus on ensuring safe roads and public spaces, maintaining infrastructure, promoting local businesses and jobs, supporting education, providing affordable housing, enhancing parks and community programs, improving public transit, fostering community involvement, and environmental stewardship.
You're way over. I'm going to give you 15 seconds
Thank
to
you.
wrap up.
Environmental stewardship is best achieved through local programs designed by your community, which will ensure holistic development. And in conclusion, I'd like to thank the staff for their recommendations, and for the City of Thorold council for their commitment to public engagement, and to the residents of Thorold who came out to support, and I believe 250 residents signed a statement of support to withdraw from the PCP program. So I'm sorry for that rushed report. It was literally 400 pages trying to pack it into one. So.
Thank you, Maggie. Thank you. And is there any questions?
There's one more slide, but you can.
That's okay. We're way over now. Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To Ms. Braun, I have a couple of questions. You don't live in Thorold, do you?
I'm an advocate across Canada on this issue.
Yeah, but you don't live here, right?
No, I've been working with the group here.
Mr. Mayor, point of order.
Okay.
No.
Yes, it is a point of order the way
The
you're questioning.
question's been
It's abusive
answered.
questioning.
No, the question's answered. She said no.
I'll
So what's
continue.
your
I'll
next
continue.
question?
I have a bit more of an answer to that.
No, it's
Okay,
it's
I'll ask the
done.
next question. So there's two sides to every coin, of course, we know this. And you represent or base a lot of your information on the Clintel's Climate Intelligence Group Climate Declaration. Is that correct?
I believe that that's a new declaration that came out, but there's been research in this field for 20 years, and I base it off of my 15
But in your
years
own
of
writings that you submitted to the city, you yourself based some of your reports on Clintel's Climate Intelligence Group Climate.
And I submitted
declaration.
50 references from other scientists from around the world, yes.
Yeah, well, the reason I bring it up is, as I said, there's two sides to every coin. And what we're hearing is a one-sided approach to climate change. And if you look at the facts...
Questions, Mr. Mayor, not comments. Point of order. Questions,
Okay.
not comments.
Okay,
Councillor Hanley, please.
all right.
No, I'm just saying it now. Would you let me speak?
I'd be happy to answer the question.
Do you know how many scientists are actually in the Clintel's Climate Intelligence Group Climate Declaration? You claim 2,000.
It is currently 1,930. I said almost 2,000, yes.
Yeah, I think if anyone were to go online and fact check,
Questions, please.
have you ever gone online to fact check and see if other organizations are finding any faults with the Clintel's Climate Intelligence Group that you're referencing so many times?
Have you ever gone online to see if anyone's fact-checked the IPCC?
Well, I'm not talking about them right now. I'm talking
answer
about
the
your
question.
source.
Answer the question. Don't, you answer the question, not ask the question. Okay, that's what you're there for.
Okay, so I encourage anyone to go online and check that out. I would like to know why you feel so qualified. I understand from your background that you have a 2-year diploma as an ecosystem management technician. And do you feel confident enough to challenge world scientists that are telling us that we're facing a climate change problem right now?
Absolutely, absolutely.
You do.
Yeah, the climate science is something that we learn about at a young age. In grade 2, we learn about photosynthesis. And when we go into programs like ecosystem management, we get to learn about geology and the geological archive, and that should get us to start asking questions. And after that, I was employed by the District of Muskoka as their biotechnologist, and then I moved on to Terrace, British Columbia, where I participated in the community official plan participation process, and from there I was one of the lead organizers for the community garden and other community projects in my area, one of the biggest community gardens in Canada. And after that, I've homeschooled my children and taught them critical thinking skills as best I could.
Okay,
So-
any further questions, Councillor Ryan?
No, I'm finished. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions? Okay, seeing none. Maggie, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, in accordance with procedural bylaw, report DS 29-2024 respecting the Partners of Climate Change Protection Program update will be dealt with now because the delegations are over. So DS 29-2024, can I get a mover and a seconder for 29-2024? I've got Councillor Hanley and Councillor DeRose. and put the report on the floor. And Jason Simpson's here to answer any questions from council. Okay? Are there any questions for staff regarding this report? Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Mr. Simpson. Mr. Simpson, I have a couple of questions. So through the recommendation of rejecting the PCP program, is the City of Thorold denying the possible adverse threats of climate change that we may be facing?
Wait, there's a question on the floor. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, that's not what this report is regarding. This report is simply to withdraw from the program, the Partners for Climate Protection program.
Good, thank you. There's a lot of reliance on the region in this report to create programs and tools that the city can use in order to plot our efforts to reduce greenhouse gases. Will we now be waiting and be dependent on the region to do what the region states in their own official plan, which is to commit to establishing targets and strategies to reduce greenhouse gases? So do we have to wait for them before we can move on this?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, how staff move forward with their legislative responsibilities is still being determined, but there is potential opportunities to work with the region through shared services, and discussions are still ongoing with regards to that.
So my interpretation of this report is that what we are going to be receiving from the region is exactly what the PCP program was offering. Very similar, establishing targets and strategies to reduce greenhouse gases. My question is, if we have to also turn to consultants to fill in the gaps that perhaps the PCP may have already provided us, isn't that a cost that we're going to be faced with down the line?
Go ahead, Jason.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it's unknown as to whether or not consultants are required at this point to meet our legislative requirements. However, should consultants be required and that require a budgetary impact, then council would certainly be notified for their consideration.
Okay, thank you. And my last question is, if we hesitate on these moves and are simply waiting for the region to take control of this action first, isn't there the potential that at some point we will be faced with higher costs because we will be far behind reaching the goals that are either mandated by the province or through the region themselves?
Well, through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not sure I can state whether or not costs would be higher in the future. I will say that the staff don't have any intentions of waiting for the region, but we are in discussions with the region to see how they can help.
Okay. Thank you very much. I just want to say that I won't support the report. I think we may be hesitating too much and will be left behind. So that's my position. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Is there anyone else? We had a mover and a seconder. Is there anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor Sentence.
Are we speaking on the report now or asking questions?
You can do either. The report's on the floor.
All right. I'll go first here again and probably know the reaction. I said it last time. I believe we have a climate problem. I believe we need to do something to react to the climate problem. I think we're overpopulated, and I do believe in that portion of all this. What I'm asked here today is by staff. I told them before that I would, if they wanted it, support it. If they don't, I won't. So I'm going to support staff's recommendation today, but not because of anything else that I've heard today, to be honest with you. I believe in completely really the opposite, and that's where my votes in the future will be if we can make this world cleaner for our kids and our grandkids. But I did say with this report, if staff didn't need it, that I would support them if they wanted to recommend to withdrawal. So those are my feelings for the future, and I will support this draft.
you, Councillor. Councillor Hannon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to first by saying I'm not a climate denier. I probably have more experience in the city of Thorold as far as environmental stewardship than any. In fact, I initiated environmental stewardship in the city of Thorold some 16 years ago when Councillor DeAngelo was mayor. I proposed the idea of outfitting our arena with LED lighting. In fact, in period on the front page of the paper at the Thorold Arena, showing where we could replace our metal halide bulbs and reducing energy costs by 40% by introducing LED lighting. I was the council that proposed that to the city of Thorold. I also introduced the city to an initiative to use wood chips as an energy source for the new Public Works building, for which they did not take advantage of. And again, there was a picture of me on the front page of the paper sitting on a wood chip pile at the Thorold Public Works building, and it was at a time when I wanted to even start our own arborist here in the city of Thorold and be our own tree maintenance, because I estimated there was 2,500 ash trees that needed to be disposed of, and I showed them where we could grind the wood chips up, goes in a 14-day hopper, and it generates energy that's used for heat and electricity. I proposed that to the city. I also introduced the city to a gentleman by the name of Henry McVerda in 2008.
Mayor, aren't we talking about the PCP?
Hold it, Mr. Mayor. Hold it, Mr. Mayor. I'm not talking about the PCP, Mr. Mayor.
Continue.
I also introduced the city to electricity price hedging, for which saved the taxpayers at the time, and Maria can remember, monies. I also introduced the city to a gentleman by the name of Henry McVerda from McVerda Energy Solutions. Councillor DeAngelo, in fact, took advantage of one of the sitting on the solar panels on his house at the time. I also introduced Home Hardware, Stedman's Jewelers, Holy Rosary Hall, Club Capri to a free program to reduce their lighting from T10 bulbs to T8 and T5 bulbs in the city of Thorold free of charge. Also, Mr. Mayor, Natural Resources Canada, the Office of Energy Efficiency, presents a certificate to Jim Hanley for taking action to improve energy efficiency and reduce greenhouse gas emissions that contribute to climate change. August 24th, 2008. I am a steward of our city, and I have been an environmental steward of our city for some 16 years. I'm sure a lot of you are unaware of. I'm not a climate denier. I've in fact done more for the city in regards to reducing greenhouse gas emissions than any here. Let's go back to the March 19th council meeting. When we were considering the PCP program, and council passed a motion to have a representative from PCP LCI attend council. On May 28th, we were given a presentation by two members from SAM, not a rep from PCP ICLEI as requested. In fact, to this day, we yet to hear or in fact even know who in fact represents PCP ICLEI. They have been basically non-existent. When you look at the website where all the people are, there's 5 representatives, 4 have their pictures. The PCP representative, it's just a little Canadian flag. There isn't even a picture there, just a name. So you can't even relate it to a person. In fact, I believe the reps from FCM failed greatly in answering very important questions. I want council to remember this program boasts 523 municipalities, and Councillor Rose asks, the ones that reach all 5 steps, you have a rough idea what they spent internally? Their answer, it's really hard to see what a municipality would spend. We don't deal with the money end. Would you not think, my fellow councillors, that with 523 member municipalities, they would have some idea of costs to implement their initiatives? Why would they not know this? After all, this is their program. Councillor Rose went on to ask, how does ICLEI address concerns about the economic impact of its initiatives? I can't speak to ICLEI. I work for FCM. The very reason I asked for a rep from PCP ICLEI to attend, which still has not occurred. I went on to ask what are legal obligations in regards to greenhouse gas emissions, and she stated, truthfully, not something that we deal with as part of the program. There is no sort of legislative obligatory component to this program. But yet on January 17th, 2023, we were told that the PC program and their milestones would help us fulfill a requirement that we are mandated to do. But yet again, the FCM members told us on May 28th there is no legislative obligatory component to this program. I went on to ask is how do you measure the amount of greenhouse gas emissions going into the atmosphere from municipalities? We asked the municipalities to create a greenhouse gas emission inventory and use the documentation as our site as per milestone 1. My fellow councillors, even though the reps for FCM don't know what our requirements are, I do. We are only mandated to do milestone 1, greenhouse gas emissions inventory, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5. For I went on to further ask, would that be in accordance with the Greenhouse Energy Act? And she said, I'm really not sure about that. I'll just skip right to the bottom, Mr. Mayor. I don't believe, I don't need to read all this. I don't believe we need to join ICLEI. I've proven. I've done it 16 years ago. I started this invention. The city just never continued it. And I brought it. I got the evidence. 2008, I brought it to this council chambers to start being stewards of the environment and reduce our greenhouse gas emissions. And it's our responsibility as councillors to continue to do that. And I'm willing to be a participant in it as a councillor and see that we do our own greenhouse gas emissions reduction inventory catalog and not be done by UN agenda organization as ICLEI.
Okay. Listen, I stated before, please, quiet in the audience. Let's keep the decorum in the council chamber, please. Anyone else have anything to speak on before we call the question? Did you want to speak?
Councillor, you've already set his hand up first.
Go ahead, Councillor. Councillor Didavito.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I support the staff's decision on the PC program, but I also encourage staff to come up with some climate change measures that we can do ourselves and reach out to the region and other municipalities that we can work together on something. But I do believe in climate change. I have 2 boys. I'm very concerned about it, but I do support what staff wants to do. But I do understand there is a climate change problem, and we all have to face that.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor DeRosa, and then Councillor Longo.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. The climate's been changing for 4.5 billion years. It's not going to stop. We're trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist. We pay federally for climate initiatives. I'm talking about Thorold taxpayers. We pay provincially for climate initiatives. We pay for regional climate initiatives. We're being asked to pay a 4th level of taxation, which is not going to change the climate one bit. I was elected to try to separate needs from wants and to have Thorold tax dollars go to the needs of our community. That's what we were hired to do, the needs for services. That's what our role is. I will support staff's recommendation. They got it bang on. Well done, staff. You know that I will be the first to criticize when I don't think you're right. They're 100% correct, and I will not be supporting this. I'll be supporting staff's recommendation, and thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Longo, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank the 3 local residents for their passionate presentations tonight. It goes a long way from hearing from people who live in our community. At the previous meeting when this came up, I in fact said, you know, we get involved in all these programs. Is there a way we could work with the region? Because we are a part of the region. And that's what staff's come back with here. I'm glad they have. I'm sure we can use the tools they have. I'm just sitting here thinking, which is, what happens if the region joins the Partners for Climate Protection? Are we okay with shared service? Well, so now, so basically then I'll make a comment. What we're doing is we're joining the Partners for Climate Protection without doing it on our own. So we're going to share what they're doing. We're going to do exactly what people say they don't want to do, but we're just, you know, moving shells around here. So at the end of the day, I haven't heard anybody deny climate change on council yet. Well, maybe one, but Councillor Hanley's come out and said there is a climate emergency. So I think we're going in the right direction here. There's a lot of heated debate. And again, I think this will work out. We need to take slow steps possibly and start with our inventory and go from there. But, you know, I read something tonight that was put in front of me. I was surprised I was reading it, but I just want to read the last paragraph again. The City of Thorold stands with all Indigenous people. We stand with all people, past and present, in promoting the wise stewardship of the lands on which we live. And I think that's what we're all doing here. We just may have slightly different opinions on how to get there, but I will support the staff recommendation. Thank you.
Councillor. Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor DeAngelo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I will support staff's recommendation also. You know, they deal with the daily routines of moving forward some of the programs that council comes up with and ideas from our committees. Definitely, I agree with Councillor Hanley. We've been environmental stewards for quite a long time, and I think we do it on I do it on a personal level, but then as my job here as a counselor, I do it on a council level too. So we're always looking at ways where we can make sure the environment is protected. And that's through policies that we have of our own. So it's great to say, let's join a group and they'll give us a bunch of policies. But we have our own policies that we need to focus on within our community. We have budgets that we have to deal with our community. And as a municipal councillor, I look at the region. This is more of a global issue in terms of working together, not just an isolated municipality. So working with the region is more useful at this point in time, working with them as opposed to doing it on our own. We have limited budgets. We're having a difficult time maintaining our core services that we have to do from a municipal jurisdiction that we're giving those, the province. We're creatures of the province in terms of that we're a municipality. They tell us what we need to do. That's not really on the high agenda list of what we need to do. We have recreation, we have roads, we have water, we got sewer. We do a lot of that stuff. And one thing Councillor Hanley failed to mention back when we were on council is we did a major sewer separation program to get raw sewage out of our clean drinking water. So we spent a lot of money for that, and the region chipped in a lot of money. And we did CSO tanks. We did a whole bunch of stuff. So there's stuff that's constantly going on that we're improving our community to make sure it's sustainable going into the future years. Are we going to improve everything right away? No. It takes a bit of time, and it takes working with other partners and other groups to get this done. So we're not going to be at the forefront. We need to be working with them, and we need to be making sure we take care of all residents' needs, not just this particular need, but we have roads, we have sewers, we have water issues. So those are all the needs that us as a municipality need to focus on. So, and look at our budget. We have a limited budget. We struggle to give community grants out, and now we're going to start doing a bunch of other projects on top of that. It's not going to be very, it's not going to move very quickly based on our budget. So the region has a lot more money. They collect a lot more taxes, and they just add another tax on if they want. Look what they did with transit. It used to be a lot cheaper when it was run by the city. It's a lot more expensive now. That's how it rolls sometimes. So this, I think, it's a good opportunity to work with the region, and it's a moving. I don't want to say we're stagnant here. When staff says they're going to work with the region, I'm sure they're going to come back with some other ideas too, and they're limited in their time space. I know one of the reasons we didn't join in the first place was that we didn't have staff resources. Well, we're down a staff member again that would help in that situation. So we have to also make sure, do we have the appropriate staff to do all this? And sometimes we don't have that. So we need to make sure we focus on our core needs for our municipality that we're responsible for. If not, we could start talking about every federal issue, every provincial issue, and take the lead on all of them. And we're going to get nothing done. And we're going to look like idiots. So I'd rather start focusing on our core services and work with those that can help us meet global or regional issues in a more appropriate way. So those are my comments, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is there anyone else before I call the question? The one other thing I can say is we don't just work with the region. There's the CAO's working group, and all the local municipalities are working together, and we're working a lot on shared services and things. So I think the path forward will be fine, and I think we have the opportunity to make sure that we can achieve whatever we need to achieve. So I want to thank everybody today for your comments, but I'm going to call the question. Oh, sorry, Councillor Decker.
And I've been changed.
I know, and I couldn't see your hand.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. I'll keep this brief. Jason, thank you for providing me the reason why you've recommended that the city opt out of the PCP program. I was happy to hear that you will be working with the region to continue the climate change issues that we're facing. Everyone else has already spoken, and I do believe that we have a problem, but obviously I respect the decisions that our staff provide to us, so I will support that you are opting out of the program. Thank you.
Okay, so the report now is on the floor. We had a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Hands up, please. Opposed? That is carried. Thank you. Okay. Now we're going to move on to our statutory public meeting. under the Planning Act. I'll call to order the public meeting being held pursuant to the provisions of Section 34 of the Planning Act as amended, respecting the zoning bylaw amendment for 46 and 48 St. David Street West. I think that should be St. David's Road, but anyways. Applicant presentation, 46 and 48 St. David Street West. I'll call on William Highcoop, Planning Manager, Upper Cantor Consultants, for the applicant presentation. William, welcome back. It's been a while since I've seen you in the council.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I may just give it a second here to let everyone clear out.
Yeah, good idea. Is it St. David's Road? No?
All right. I'm here to present regarding 46 and 48 St. David Street West. As you indicated, I'm the planning manager with Upper Canada Consultants, and I'm going to give a short presentation regarding a proposed zoning bylaw amendment. Slide, please. Here you can see an outline of the subject lands that front onto the north side of St. David Street West, which is an arterial road. It's located in an existing residential area that contains a variety of different dwelling types and sizes. The lands were previously 2 single detached dwellings, however, were very underutilized. The single detached dwellings were in poor shape and were purchased by my client. And since that time, the 2 properties have merged in ownership. Together, they have a combined frontage of 50.9 meters, or approximately 167 feet, and a depth of also 50 meters with about 165 feet of depth. Overall, they're an area of 2,411 meters squared, or about 0.64 acres. As you can see, the lots are on the inside of the town line, St. David Street West and Queen Street North to the east, and that triangular roadway geometry has left a large rear yard area for these properties that is currently underutilized. Overall, the subject lands present a good opportunity for redevelopment. Slide, please. So the zoning bylaw amendment application in front of you tonight is to facilitate the development of a 17-unit, 3-story apartment building that includes 22 parking spaces. Fortunately, the quality of the plan didn't come through that great, but here you can see the proposed apartment building that is located to the front of the building, and the parking area goes to the rear of the building. This was done in accordance with the streetscape policies and good urban design principles. There are 2 walkway connections that connect the building to the pedestrian sidewalk along the north side of St. David's Road. We have a main entry at the center of the proposed building and a second pedestrian access along the side, leading it to the rear of the property. Core factor in designing this proposed development was accommodating a necessary landscape buffer around the external area of the property adjacent to the existing dwellings to the east, north, and west. So we're proposing a 3-meter landscape buffer, which is about 10 feet of space between the parking area and the property line. And we would be proposing a 1.8 meter or 6-foot privacy fence in addition to this landscape buffer. Overall, as I indicated, the 17 dwelling units meet the city's parking requirement and have 22 parking spaces. So there would be a parking space assigned to each unit and 5 additional spaces for visitors. Overall, the proposed dwelling units range in size from 800 square feet to just over 1,000 square feet and consist of 6 one-bedroom units and 11 two-bedroom units. So each suite includes a small amenity balcony that is recessed into the walls of the building to ensure that there's greater privacy to the surrounding properties. And additionally, there is a common amenity room on the main floor, which will be a multi-purpose room for all the future residents. The proposed development is within about a 5-minute walk of the CE Gorge Park on Anne McMahon and has immediate proximity and walking distance to the downtown. Slide, please. So here you can see an elevation of the proposed 3-story building. So we've purposefully designed this in a manner that is compatible and represents similar architectural features to the surrounding low-density neighborhood rather than a traditional apartment building. So with this, we have a hip roof and a front facade that would include brick masonry, board and batten siding, things of those natures. I will point out that the property is proposed to change in zoning. However, the proposed 3-story height only exceeds the surrounding height permissions, which are 11 meters. The proposed building height here is 11.16 meters. Slide, please. So as I indicated, the purpose of the application is for a zoning bylaw amendment, and so that would seek to change the R1C zone to an R4A zone. We're looking for one site-specific provision, which is a minor reduction of the parking aisle width from 6.4 meters to 6 meters. So we're looking about 16 inches on the aisle width. And I will point out that the Ontario Building Code does identify 6 meters as an appropriate fire route, so we're compliant with those code requirements. Now, I know there's been some ongoing changes with the appeal of the 2019 bylaw. So under the former bylaw, the 97 bylaw, there were some additional provisions that would be required, and I know things are in the process of the settlement, so I just wanted to draw your attention to those in case that settlement isn't finalized before we get to the next stage in the process. Slide, please. Speaking about the process, this application is for a zoning bylaw amendment. So stage 1, we've completed and submitted the application. Stage 2 has also been completed, and the application has been circulated to the applicable agencies for comment. Right now, we're at the statutory public meeting, and there's an information report associated with tonight's meeting. As indicated, there's a commenting process here where we can receive comments, and a recommendation report would not be coming till stage 4, a future stage, stage 5, but we'll take back any comments that you have and respond accordingly. Slide, please. And that is the extent of my presentation, but in summary, we have an application for a zoning bylaw amendment to permit 17 apartment dwelling units. The application is consistent with the provincial policy statement and growth plan, the Niagara Region official plan, and the city's official plan. And this application provides for new housing within the existing urban boundary, makes efficient use of existing infrastructure and services that the city provides. The proposal will add more housing options within that immediate neighborhood and at a different price point. So thank you for your time this evening, and I'm certainly here to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you.
Thank you, William, and I'll open the floor for questions, and I have Councillor DeRosa first.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks, William. Very thorough presentation. Just quick, you just talked about the price points, your last few words. Is there any price points that you can share with us at this time? And of course, someone's going to ask you on council about any affordability direction on the builder's part.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, so at this point in time, we haven't nailed down the exact price ranges. We're early on in the zoning stage, so we don't have construction budgets yet. But we are looking at doing this as a market rental development. So there wouldn't be a condominium aspect, but we've come forward with a design that we're hoping to have a lower price point on. The design has been specifically done out of wood construction. There's no basement component, so we can have a slab on grade. We have a traditional sloped roof. So we're trying to do all those things to bring a price point down. I think it'll be more affordable than a lot of the other existing dwellings in the area, but the exact number I don't have for you tonight, unfortunately.
Thank you, William.
Anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor Dindafidis.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. How long will this take from start to finish once you get approved to build this?
Should we get council's approval on this, we would be required to go through a site plan application process, ultimately before we were able to get a building permit. So I would suspect at this point in time, we'd be looking to get in the ground early next year. If things work out that we're able to do that sooner, obviously we can, but ballpark between the site plan and building permit process, entering into a site plan agreement, we're looking at 6 to 9 months on average.
And has this developer built other apartments in Thorold like this before?
Not this one specifically. So this owner is Markin Homes and Construction. So they've done numerous developments throughout Thorold and Niagara Falls and the surrounding Niagara region over the years. They've predominantly done townhouses and that kind of thing. But recently we gained council's approval for a fourplex at 41 St. David Street across the road last year. And so they've been building that there. So they're taking steps to explore this type of building, and really, I think all local builders, considering the housing context, are exploring these options. So, like I said, we've specifically designed this out of wood construction that would resemble, other lower density types of dwellings.
And my last question. Are you focusing 6 bedrooms on, is this going to be student housing? Is that what we're building here?
No. We've specifically designed these units so that they're not. We'd like to target more of a senior clientele here. The size of the units are a little bit larger than you would see if we were looking to do student housing. So the 1-bedroom units are just over 800 square feet, whereas if we were to do something a little bit more student housing oriented, you'd probably see square footages around 600, 650 for a 1-bedroom. And so similarly for the 2-bedroom units, we're up around 1,000 square feet, whereas a smaller 2-bedroom would be around 750, 800 square foot. We've purposefully included an elevator in the design so that on the 2nd and 3rd floor, if people are challenged from an accessibility perspective, they'd be able to get up and down. We've included 2 accessible parking spaces in the rear parking area to accommodate those type of requirements. So with the type of square footages, with the accommodations we've made in the building, we're specifically targeting someone who's looking to downsize and move out of their single detached dwelling into something smaller and something on a rental tenureship.
Okay, thank you very much.
Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Halcoop, thank you so much for coming in. A very good presentation. I really like a couple of things that I'm hearing that is geared towards seniors. We can certainly use senior affordability housing here in Thorold, and certainly with the elevator, I'm sure you'll be successful with that. Just a couple of questions. The main entrance from the front to the building, can that access all apartments, or is that just the front half and others must enter from the back, or how is that going to work out?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. So it's a through hallway. So if you come in the front door, you'd be able to walk through the entire building and come out the back door. So if you park in the back, Doesn't matter what way you're coming in, whether you're coming in for the front or the back. The elevator is at the back of the main corridor hallway, just because that's where the accessible parking spaces are. But yeah, it doesn't matter what door you come in.
Yeah, excellent. I like that. The bike parking, I'm just wondering if you've thought about perhaps having an area along the side of the building in the back, so that it's not leaving the bikes out close to the street. I'm thinking for a couple of reasons, just safety in terms of collisions or something like that, but also theft. So that's just a point I'm going to leave with you. Maybe consider that and see if you can make those a little bit safer for the residents. The one concern I have, though, is the reduction of the parking aisle in the back from 6.4 to 6. And I worry, especially looking at the elevation drawing that or the plan drawing that you submitted, that there's a couple of issues. One is, should a pickup truck have to move into that area and all parking spaces are occupied, they're going to have a really hard time getting out of there. So I don't know if that has been thought through. If everyone's driving a Mini, sure, that's going to be great, or a Fiat, but if there's a lot of pickup trucks here in town, so that could possibly be a problem, especially over at parking spots 13 and 14 where they back against the wall. Maneuverability there, I'm not sure if you've done studies or if you've practiced that or laid it out. I think that might be a bit challenging. So I'm going to leave that with you, and perhaps planning, that can be something that you work out together. So the application said that there was going to be an urban design and landscape plan submitted, but I couldn't see one. Have you submitted one since?
So the planning justification report has urban design components in it, so it's not a standalone report. There are sections of the official plan that talk about urban design, so we incorporate those right into our planning report. In terms of a landscape plan, that's traditionally done at a site plan level.
Okay.
So no, one was not submitted at this point in time.
Okay, all right. Maybe I'll just have that noted so that when planning is at that stage, they can recognize that there's been some design elements added there. There's a couple of concerns from neighbors, and who's going to maintain that landscape area that we're talking about? If it's a rental unit, or are you going to have someone that'll come in and ensure that that's kept alive, flourishing?
Yes, exactly. So we'll be subject to a site plan agreement, and that agreement will include security requirements. So we will have to post to the city the value of the landscaping that we're required to install, and we don't get that substantial sum back until those landscaping plantings have been installed and have gone through the required maintenance period. After those monies are returned, we would have a property manager and superintendent maintaining the building, as is pretty common in those situations. So I don't have any concerns about the maintenance. I think actually oftentimes buildings that have those management services are often more well kept than the private residences. Not all cases, obviously, but that's been my experience. So, yeah, we'll have a manager.
Good to hear. Good. And my final question is the possible large-scale fence that can surround the property. I know that there are neighbors that have concerns with so many cars back there, if lights are going to be shining into their bedrooms, living rooms, wherever cars are flashing their lights. So that's one concern. And the other concern is on the tenants themselves at the very back. I know you've requested a 3-meter setback from the building to the parking spot, which is somewhere around 6 feet. That's getting pretty close for headlights to be coming in at night. So are there plans to also build some sort of screen there to alleviate that issue?
Yes, through you, Mr. Mayor. So the landscape buffer is at a minimum 3 meters or 10 feet. So that gives us the opportunity for some more mature plantings than you would see otherwise. And then we would be doing a privacy board-on-board fence. So that's something that we would show on the landscape plan through the site plan process. I know the comments that we received were asking for an 8-foot fence. I'm not sure that the city's bylaw allows that height. I believe we can go up to 6. So that's what we'd be looking to do.
Great. Thank you very much. I like what I'm hearing.
Councillor Sentence.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, Councillor O'Hare stole both mine, so I'm good on the fence and I'm good on the landscaping. Just work with the residents, because that's the main thing that, you know, making this as least troublesome on them as possible. So I know this is early, so keep that in mind. Thank you.
Councillor D'Angelo, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, a lot of my questions have been answered, but I'm going to just touch on a few of them. Just regarding parking, you mentioned that you're going to have 17 spots and then 17 dedicated spots and 5 additional, so that's 22. You're looking at 11 2-bedroom and 6 1-bedroom. So when I do the math, if you put 2 people in a 2-bedroom, that's going to be 22 cars plus another 6. That brings you up to 28. I guess before I ask that question, you mentioned that this particular builder hasn't really built something of this nature, more townhouses. Has there been any studies that look at a unit like this that has 17 units, how many parking spaces are actually used while the building's in service? So that's one question. The second question is, what would the plan be if you had 28 cars there, because there's no on-street parking? So parking may be an issue. If you could maybe try to address a couple of those, or let me know what you're going to do about them. Thank you.
Yeah, certainly, through you, Mr. Mayor. So right now we meet the city bylaws parking requirement from the zoning perspective, which requires 1.25 spaces per unit. So I think in response to you're saying each bedroom is going to have a car associated with it, I wouldn't say that that is generally true. There's lots of different circumstances from every different citizen in their walk of life. There might be people that don't have any cars at all because they don't have them or can't afford them. So the zoning parking requirements, the city standard takes into account all those different situations and comes forward with a balanced parking ratio that is not, you know, two-sided on one side or the other. So we feel it's appropriate. Through the rental and lease agreements, as I indicated, we would be giving 1 parking space per unit. So if someone's coming in and renting a unit, they would understand that they only get assigned 1 parking space. So if they need 2, this is not the property or the development for them. If they choose to park illegally, that's not something I can control. But what we can do is put ourselves in the best position to create and propose a well-balanced parking ratio. And so we feel that the city's parking ratio does that, and then we meet that requirement.
Okay, well, thanks for your comments. There's a policy and then there's reality. We have parking issues in our community, and I just don't want to push it onto another road, a side street that will have additional parking. We're going through a parking master plan that we're going to sort this out, I hope. So that's good, the news that you're going to try to stress that they're only going to have 1 parking spot there, because like I said, if you start adding that, especially if you have some seniors, they might need PSWs. There'll be a lot of vehicles there. Is 5 an apple for visitors? So I'll leave that in your hands. I have one question regarding the reduction in the laneway, but I don't know if it's to the presenter, but it might be to our fire chief. Can I ask that right now? And I just want to make sure, reducing the laneway to get vehicles to the back, does that pose a problem on a fire issue? If you can't access the front of the building, can you get vehicles to the back to suppress a fire? Maybe if you give a few comments on that, through you, Mr. Mayor, to our fire chief.
Sure, through you, Mayor. Typically, we wouldn't access the back, but like you say, if we can't access the front, then we'd have to access the back. Under the building code, we can go down to 6 meters for the width for fire trucks. So we should be sufficient to be able to get to the back. We don't typically like to do that because then we're trapped in the back should something happen. So we typically always try to stay on the street side when we're doing any of our suppression activities. So from that, but I'm comfortable with the building code. It says we can go down to 6 meters, so I'm okay with that.
Okay, well, thank you for the comments on that. through you, Mr. Mayor, to the presenter, you mentioned through the site plan process that you're going to be working, as Councillor Sentence mentioned, with the residents, hopefully to determine the type of landscaping that's going to be done around there. Like the trees, work with them so they don't put invasive trees that become, monsters and then impact everyone else, cedars or whatever else. So I think, I know it's not right now, but I think that's very critical. Working with the neighbors directly affected is good. So I appreciate that. And the only other, I was looking at the picture here. Is there going to be any green space for the residents that live on site, such as so they can have barbecues, they could have a picnic area, a picnic table, something like that? Is there something that's going to be incorporated there? Because, like I said, when I look at this, you basically take all the green space away and plop a lot of asphalt and a building, and then we talk about climate change. But to me, how are you going to bring some more green space to this property so that the residents don't have to drive somewhere to, to enjoy green space? You mentioned C. Gross Park. It's not a very big park. It's more of a soccer field. It's got a very small playground there. So it's not really a park that's accessed by a lot of individuals. So how would you address some additional green space or some green space where the residents don't have to go far to get it? To you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, so you're quite right. We're just quite frankly not proposing a lot of green space on site. That's somewhat the nature of more intensified development as you get to into different housing forms such as apartment buildings. There tends to be less of those green spaces. So one of the things that we actually did through this process was dropped a unit on the main floor to have a common amenity room, multi-purpose room for the residents of that area. So we feel like that's sufficient, along with a balcony for each unit that they'd be able to, put a little table and have a couple chairs on the outside. So I hear what you're saying in the sense that there's not a ton of green space, but on the other side, when we talk about environmental components and stewardship and whatnot, it's using the land that we have now efficiently. So I think that this proposal does that. It does provide for amenity options. I understand the nearby park is small, but it does have a playground. It does have a field. It does present some of those opportunities. So as the evolution of neighborhoods continues, and you start seeing some of these higher density developments, that feeds into a more comprehensive look at your parks and whether or not they're enough to support the larger community. But I think in this instance, our position is that we've provided an on-site amenity space inside in addition to balconies for each unit.
Councillor D'Angelo?
Okay, no, I think most of my questions have been addressed through the ones I've asked and other ones that other councillors asked. So thank you, and again, thank you for the presentation. I appreciate your thoughts in moving this forward.
Anyone else? Seeing none, William, thank you for your presentation, and I'm going to move on now to registered speakers. Please provide your full name and address for the public record. Please note that you have a maximum 5 minutes to address members of council and the public. I'll call on Preston McDonald, resident, for his presentation respecting the application. Is Preston online or in the chamber?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, it looks like there's a hand up, so I will
Bring
let
him
him
in. Preston's online. We'll just wait to bring him in on.
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you, Preston.
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, all of my questions from what I sent in have been answered by the developer. So I just wanted to let you know that I was here, but I don't have anything further to say.
Okay, thank you, Preston. And your address is?
83 Queen Street, the back end, right where the parking lot is.
Okay.
I had concerns about lights and whatnot, so thank you.
No, thank you. Thank you for coming, and your questions have been looked after. Is there anything from council that want to ask Preston? I don't see anything. Okay, Preston, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I now have a delegation from...
Through you, Mr. Mayor, that is a written delegation, written correspondence submitted by Robin Shugan, resident. I don't believe Robin is with us here or online.
Okay, and council's all received that written submission.
That's correct.
Okay, very good. At this time, is there anyone online or present in the chamber who wishes to speak on the applications? Go ahead, and Scott, give your name and address, please. I know who you are, but other people may not, so. And Scott, give your name and address first, please.
Scott Stewart, 107 Town Line Road West in
No, that's good.
So, no, again, I live in my family home. My concern is we've always had a large property. My neighbors are way over here, over there. They just built a monstrosity a couple years ago, kitty corner to my back beside this property. This is not maintained. This is the cheapest thing I've ever seen built. And my issues are who's going to hold, like, plans change. You know, it goes from senior's house to this, to that, you know, the price of the property, 17 units producing more garbage. We can already see rats scurrying around the area now, so like that's a concern. Where the garbage, how often is it picked up? Is it, obviously it's not gonna be in front of the thing. Are they gonna maintain the big bins in the back? Is like, I don't know, but again, we recycle, but generally in an apartment building, you see a lot of food recycling. It's probably not, apartments ain't made for that kind of stuff. And my privacy now, I have windows where we've had 75 years of no one looking in my backyard. I know progress happens, you can't stop things, but this land can be built with townhouses. You talk about green spaces where people can enjoy their backyards. They're taking a large property and they're using every inch of it. Unfortunately, everyone knows how things are going now. I live in an old neighborhood. We don't see many families move anymore. We see developers buy them, turn houses into apartments. These people aren't affected by this because they're renters mostly. So it's just a concern. There's nobody here to speak. You know, I didn't expect to see a lot of people today, but you know, not happy that it's happening. I think other things could have been done and built on this property. So it's outside of, like, you know, when you say you're gonna work with the residents, like someone's gonna come by and ask me, you know, hey, put up all sorts of cedars. Give me the 8-foot fence, I'll take it. Like, I mean, I don't want people invading my privacy that will now be gone. And again, I'm not a very good speaker. I wasn't prepared to speak, but
anyway, Scott, we appreciate you coming. And that point that you brought up is duly noted, and that's regarding the garbage. William, that's regarding where the garbage is going to be and how it's going to be managed is a very good point you brought up. So I'm going to open, is there any questions for Scott? Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Stuart, thank you for coming up to the podium. I just want to point out that in your neighborhood, should you see issues with garbage and mess, then please, by all means, get in touch with bylaw. That's their job. So it often doesn't get addressed if it doesn't get reported. So don't hesitate to let the city know, and then someone can come out and inspect and stay on top of it. We've been successful with many campaigns of cleaning places up, so I just encourage you to do that.
Okay.
And thanks for coming.
Go ahead, Councillor D'Angelo.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just, you made a comment regarding a building 2 doors, 2 or 3 down, called it a monstrosity. What are some of the issues there? Instead of you calling bylaw, you could tell us tonight, bylaw's here, they'll come and do an inspection of the property, because I have a concern with the property, because I asked a specific question at the time, are you going to plant grass in the front? I was told yes. It's been gravel there, cars parked there constantly. So when I hear a developer tell me something here, they don't translate it to the real facts of doing it on site. So neighbors shouldn't have to call bylaw. We should be inspecting some of these properties after they've told us they're going to do specific things. They don't. Well, let's follow up on it. Let's hold them accountable to making our community better, not just coming in here and jamming it with more housing and saying you're doing us a favor. Well, you're not sometimes. You're creating more problems. So I have Mr. Stewart here, so I want to see what other problems with that other property can be addressed here.
No, but also, is the final inspection been done on that property so that it follows the mandate which was on the site plan agreement? So I think that's something we should look at from our city perspective. Anyways.
I'm giving our proponent or our speaker, Mr. Stewart, an opportunity to, if he has any other concerns with that other property, speak up now, because I could see why he'd be hesitant with another property coming there, because the first one didn't follow the rules. Well, the second one, it doesn't bode well sometimes.
It's just instead of paving it, they just dump stone. And so they're all parking in the backyard, front yard still all stone, out to the boulevard all stone, and the weeds are getting high. So every couple of weeks I have to go out and around my neighbors, in through a hole in the fence, just to weed whip along my fence, because it's vines, it's things, and it's starting to grow through the fence. It's just, you build places, but you don't maintain the property. It's an income.
Well, it's not just that, and it's also to make sure that there's done what was supposed to be done.
Well, again, I don't know.
Yeah, and that's why I brought that up, and we'll look into that. But that's a good point. Well taken. Any other questions for Scott? I want to thank you, Scott, for coming. It's good to see you, and thank you for speaking on this.
Appreciate you listening. Thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak online or in the council chambers? Is there anyone online, Matt? One last time, is there anyone online who wishes to speak or in the council chambers? Seeing none, we'll move on to the planning report. 11.31 DS 23-2024. Report DS 23-2024 is only presented to council for information purposes. It is currently open for questions and/or comment from members of council. Please note all comments will be captured by city staff and incorporated into the final report, which will be brought forward at a future council meeting for consideration. Can I get a mover and a seconder for the report? Councillor Sentence and Councillor DeRose. Are there any questions or comments from members of council? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Adjournment of the public meeting. This fulfills the requirements of the Planning Act pursuant to Section 34. The public meeting portion of these applications is now adjourned. Okay, now we move on to items for consent. Can I get a mover and a seconder for items of consent? Councillor Sentence, Councillor O'Hare. Do councillors want to lift any consent items? 12.1, 12.2, and 12.4 to 12.6. Please note that you do not need to pull any individual item to only make comments. It is only required if you wish to speak and make changes to recommendations. So go ahead, Councillor Hanley. Did you want to pull a report?
12.3, please, Mr. Mayor.
Well, 12.3's already been dealt with.
Okay. Oh, that's what we were doing forward, where it's only for information purposes, right?
For information purposes. Okay, that's
thanks for the clarity.
Councillor DeRose.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I just wanted to ask a couple questions on the accounts payable 12.2.
Okay, we'll let you do that. Is there anyone else? Go ahead, Councillor D'Angelo.
I had the same report, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor O'Hare, you had your hand up. Did you have? Okay. So what we're going to do is we got 12.1, 12.4, 12.5, and 12.6. I had a mover and seconder. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 12-2, we're going to use the same mover and seconder, but it is accounts payable, and I'll start with Councillor DeRose, and then we'll go to Councillor DeAngela. Go ahead, Councillor DeRose.
Okay, through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you. Yeah, just looking through check number or this category, I go down to 930 on page 27, and there was a large expenditure to the Niagara Catholic District School Board. And then on top of that, at 920, there was also the Public Board for a 1.2 million. And the Catholic Board was 395,607, so I'm on page 27 at the bottom.
Okay,
I just
and
was
I'll
curious as to, the explanation.
I'll ask Maria for that.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we are obligated, because we collect the education taxes, we are obligated to make quarterly payments to the school boards. We're sending over the taxes that we have collected.
So it's money we collected and we give it to them. It's not a part of what we would keep.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. And then, once again, I'm heartbroken to see us get dinged for a service we didn't use. Item 722, unused ice time, $6,800. I don't know, I just look at that whole area there, and I can't believe the amount of money we're spending for ice. It's ridiculous, but it's just my opinion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, and now I'll turn it over to Councillor DeAngelo.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have to apologize. My notes are at home, but I do have a conflict with JBM Office Systems. My brother works there. I think there was 3 checks that were written. I just couldn't find them at this.
It's been duly noted by the clerk.
Just at this point in time. But I do have a couple other questions. Again, I don't have the specific page numbers, but one is, I believe it was in Public Works. There was a purchase of $142,000 for, I think it was modular furniture. My question is only, is that part of the contract of building the facility, or did we tender that out for the furniture inside? I believe that's what it was for, but if I could get clarity.
I have no idea. Is there someone
Mr.
from
Mayor,
staff that can answer that question?
Director of Operations?
We can give the answer later on.
If we don't have it, can we get it for?
Yeah, if the answer is not readily available, an email with it would be fine.
You can email and send it out and copy all the council on that. That would be fine.
I just, Mr. Mayor, because I know we usually tender items, like we just 30,000 for doors, or we will, as part of our consent, 30,000 for doors at the arena, but we're spending, I think it was 142,000. I don't have the exact number in front of me. Again, my notes
I don't
are
know
here.
if it's part of that or not.
If it's part of the overall thing, I can see how it lumps in, or do we, because it was a name I didn't fully recognize. I just thought there's other suppliers of modular furniture. Just want to make sure we're getting the best value for our citizens. But if it's part of the overall contract, I could see how that's encompassed there, where it wouldn't go to tender because it's been part of the original.
We'll get an
tender.
answer for that.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Then through you, Mr. Mayor, another question just regarding just junk. I see a lot of invoices there. I'm just wondering if there's been any feedback in terms of when we do an estimate, if that's helped the situation with the residents cleaning up their properties, if that's been instituted where it's been actually applied, and just wanted a bit of feedback from our director.
Jason, can you give us feedback as where we are now? Do we have anything that you can report regarding that?
Through Mr. Mayor, I can report that estimates are being provided, and it has resulted in some residents cleaning up their property prior to bylaw having to contract it out. I don't have any specific statistics available right now, though.
No, that's fine, Mr. Mayor, because I know we just recently introduced that, but I'm
But it
glad.
sounds like it is helping.
Yes, I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad the residents are taking heed that there could be a substantial cost, and if they could do it themselves, so be it. Okay, and then the other one, and I don't know if, I was going through, I saw a lot of charges for Enbridge. A lot of the fire halls had like $2,000 Enbridge bills. My only question on that is, I know the carbon tax has gone up on the Enbridge bills. Does the municipality, through you, Mr. Mayor, maybe to our Director of Finance, do we get rebated anything? Because I know an individual gets a rebate on the carbon tax. They call it the Climate Action Incentive Rebate. Does the municipality get any of those rebates for any of the carbon tax that we pay?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, no, we don't.
Is that something
I think it's a good point. Point well
Because,
taken.
like I said, those expenses are going up, and I know on mine, it was almost like 35% increase in my bill, or a portion of my bill, so we have some pretty big gas bills, and we had a mild winter this year, so I hate to see those gas bills come a cold winter, so that's something I think we should put a bit of focus on.
It's a good point. Point well taken. Okay. So we had a mover and a seconder for that. Oh, did you want to bring something up? Sorry, Councilor.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have one question on the, this, as we're scrolling through. Just curious, page 26 and 27, the Committee of Adjustment. There's legal fees for our former Integrity Commissioner. Can somebody explain, I guess, in this meeting what that was for?
I can't answer it. Can staff answer it? Go ahead, Jason.
And if we can't answer that tonight, if we could make council aware of what that was for?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sorry, one moment. I'm just scrolling to the page to.
Page 27.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, so this is, the expense was to Aird Burles law firm. We have used Aird Burles in some cases where other more local law firms have a conflict of interest. So I don't believe that it was pertaining to the Integrity Commissioner, but other legal matters. As for the specifics on the matter, I don't have that available to me today.
Okay.
That's fine. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't an Integrity Commissioner inquiry or service.
Okay. Thank you. Any further? Okay. We had a mover and seconder. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Now we're going to move on to items for consideration. DF 8, 2024, 2024 benefits. Can I get a mover and a seconder to put the report on the floor? I got Councillor O'Hare and Councillor Decker. The report's there, and if there's any questions for our Director of Finance, Maria Morrow, she's here and ready and willing to answer them. Are there any questions? Seeing none. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. 13.3. Just 13.2 we did, right? Yes. PWCSC 1 2024, transfer of roadway jurisdiction MTO to Niagara Region, Highway 20 from Highway 58 to Town Line, Thorold Town Line Road. Can I get a mover and a seconder for that? I got Councillor Hanley and Councillor Sentence. Does anyone want to speak to that? Go ahead, Councillor.
I think this is great news because the province is very difficult to work with, especially when you're trying to do some improvements along that roadway. And the other part, it's not coming to the city, it's coming to the region, so the region could deal with the road, but it gives us a bit of jurisdiction considering we have 2 regional councillors. So to me, this is a big win and a big, good story for us.
So what's happening is we are passing this, the region is going to bring it to regional council, right? For and then we're, our goal is to lobby for that at AMO with the region and the city, okay? Go ahead, Councillor Sentence.
So do we need anything from us? I'm just reading the end of it here. Do we need anything formal from us tonight, or?
We're approving that.
And that'll be enough?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This, wait.
Through Mr. Mayor, we need to pass a formal resolution confirming city's position so that we can forward that to the region.
Yeah.
And on the other note, Councillor D'Angelo, we have put a request to the ministry for a delegation at AMO as well on this.
Okay. So. It's received for information and a resolution's going to the region, okay? Correct, Jeff?
That's correct, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, and we had a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. 13.4, PWCS 64 2024, Port Robinson Board of Management budget request. Can I get a mover and a seconder to put this on the floor? Councillor O'Hare and Councillor Dedivitis. Are there any questions or the motion's there? Go ahead, Councillor O'Hare.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, I guess this will go to Dave. This sounds great. Dave, how fast can this be taken care of so they have the tables they need?
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor O'Hare. I will, if council passes this motion, I will place the order tomorrow and we could have the chairs by the week's end.
Wow, fantastic. I think it's great. We know that Port Robinson Community Center is very active and do wonderful work out there, so I'm fully behind this, and the sooner the better.
Yeah, they're a great group out there. Okay, is there any further discussion on that? All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. Okay.
Place the order?
I've got Councillor O'Hare for a notice of motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm giving a notice of motion regarding a special events working group. Thank you.
Okay, and that'll come next meeting. Is there anyone else? Okay, seeing none, I got statement by Councillor. Councillor O'Hare, go ahead. Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have two that I'd like to make tonight. The first one is a thank you to our former clerk, Matthew Trenham. The reason I am bringing this forward is because as a new councillor, you're treading water very quickly and you're stumbling over all sorts of obstacles. And Matthew was able to guide myself and help steer me in the proper direction, and never wavered to assist me on any item that I required assistance from. So I want to especially thank him for all the assistance he gave me, and also wish him well in his new position. The second statement I want to make is a big thank you to Jacob Tedesco. Jacob has been in the springtime working double shifts, double jobs. It's amazing what he carried off in the time when he was playing the position of two different leaders, and he did it very well. And I'm just happy to say that now he's focused on one job, and I want to thank him for all his hard work and determination. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. And now we're going to go into closed session. So this has been dealt with, right? This is what we're going into closed for, right?
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor. That's correct. The item there on the screen, this was deferred from prior meeting.
Last meeting when we
Yep.
ran into time constraints.
And I just wanted to also confirm, through you, Mr. Mayor, this has been, the public is aware of this. It is in the agenda package. There may have been some sort of technical glitch with sending it a notification to the council members, but I just want you to know that this has been notified to the public.
Okay, so I need a mover and a seconder to move into closed session, then I'll read why we're going in. Councillor Sentence, Councillor Hanley. That council do now move into closed session to receive a confidential information respecting a matter respecting a position, plan, procedure, criteria, or instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board under Section 239 2K of the Municipal Act 2001, Junior Hockey Team Tenancy Update, Doherty Arena. We had a mover and a seconder to go into closed session. All those in favor? Opposed? That is carried. And we'll just get a